appreciate it. I say this every week, Terry, right? Arsenal fans are sitting there laughing at every other fan base at the moment because we're top of the table. So then you ask them a question, okay, are we going to win the league? Oh no, the aim's top 4. Okay, so why are you laughing at other teams while we're 3-month champions then? Yeah, because that's just pointless. If you don't actually believe that we have a chance to go and win it, and we should be going to win it by going to get better players in January to make the squad better than the current squad, why are you sitting laughing at other teams and their fans? Yeah, because if you then get to ask them, where do you think we're going to finish? Are we going to win it? No, top 4 is the aim. Okay, so we're top of the league, which is above the aim then. But now you don't want to continue to be above the aim. You just think, oh, well, it don't matter. We'll finish 4th. If you also ask them, when is the end date for this process? Not one person will give you an answer, Terry. Not one. So when they're sitting there crying about referees, crying about VAR, crying about other players doing this and other players doing that, it's all bollocks. Yeah, because they don't believe after crap they're saying. They're only jumping on a narrative. Yeah, that narrative now is Bukayo Saka gets overly fouled. No, he doesn't. You've just read out all these other players in the Premier League that get fouled 2-3 times more than him a game. Don't see any other fan base crying about this. I don't see any fan base crying. You even read out Jesus gets fouled double the amount of times in a game. So why was the article about Bukayo Saka? Oh, because Bukayo Saka went off injured. Nobody's talking about the fact that Mikel Arteta kept him on the pitch for 13 minutes whilst he was injured. Yeah, when he clearly did not want the ball, and he was hobbling around the pitch for 12, 13 minutes. Nobody's talking about that, which could have done him longer injury than the actual injury.
I get that, Lee, and I understand your gripes with that element. But back to like Arsenal fans not wanting to say they can win the league. Everyone will have a different reason. Some people don't want to get clipped. Some people don't want their tweets screenshotted. I think some people don't want to jinx it. I'm a bit of a superstitious person. Like, I don't often like to predict my team's going to win a game.
Like one of these girls that believes in like star signs and stuff, Terry.
Well, no, yeah, but I do when it comes to sport.
I don't want to jinx it by saying we can win it.
Lee. But you're asking why people don't say things, and I'm giving you like a list of examples, and there'll be different reasons. But on Arsenal, I think most Arsenal fans in their heart of heart know they can win the league, and I believe you can win the league. You do need to spend some money in January as part of my belief in that. But you're 12 games into the season. You've had one half where you play, a couple of halves where you weren't great, and a loss to Man United in a game where you did some good things. You're getting better. The response this weekend to Nottingham Forest was excellent, especially smashing them in the second half the way that you did. Yeah. The bounce back from all the nonsense. And I know I asked the questions for a few weeks, and often people get confused that when I ask a question, it isn't me making a statement. It's me asking a question based on what's trending. It was a nonsense that you were fatigued, an absolute fallacy. You just had a bad couple of games. In the same way that City's little poor run of form went unnoticed. They beat Brighton, yes, but people forget that in a run of 4 games, they only won 1, and they failed to score in 2 Champions League games. But suddenly Arsenal have a bad second half against Southampton and a bad second half against Leeds.
Suddenly
at the world,
that comparison is
just title contenders 100%.
That comparison is just pathetic. Real talk.
Why?
Yeah, Man City have got a better squad, and they've done it for years under that same manager. They've won 4 out of the last 5 Premier Leagues, Terry. So if they have a little blip, it's only a little blip. That team will go on a 16, 17, 19, 20 game straight wins streak here, right? So to compare that to Arsenal having 7 bad games, 5 in a row in the Europa League and 2 in the Premier League, is completely stupid, because Arsenal have proven under this manager multiple times that when they have a bad streak, ultimately, it is a bad streak and it will stay a bad streak. Yes, we bounce back. Perfect team to play against, a team that basically didn't want to come out their half. Yeah, first half, we very, 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 again, nearly gifted them a goal. The same centre-back are called a bozo every week. Past Jesse Lingard the ball on the penalty spot. Fantastic block from Ben White. If Ben White hadn't blocked that, that's 1 each going in at half-time. So, yes, we went and spanked them. We absolutely fully deserved to spank them. They were shocking. Yeah, we could have had 7 or 8. But let's not compare it to Man City having a blip where they've scored 1 or won 1 game out of 4, Terry, because Man City have got a track record under this manager that they can go and do it. And when they have a blip, it is literally they've only won 1 in 4.
So if people were saying, but I get you, if people were saying that Arsenal are falling off during these 5-game period, because we always do, that would make sense as a logical train of thought. But people didn't. It's, they're fatigued. Their players have been running to the ground. They've been played too much.
Oh, they have.
They haven't. Not for 12 games into a season. They've been played about the right amount of times. Like, this is what you do. So
No, hold on.
right,
Bukayo
right
Saka's
amount of
played
times.
pretty much every minute of every single game this season. Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. I watched you and a gal having an argument the other day about Eddie Nketiah.
Right.
Why is Eddie Nketiah not starting games?
Because he ain't good enough.
Thank you. So if he ain't good enough, that decision to sign him up based off of 5 goals that took us from 4th to 5th, yeah, and give him 100 grand a week and the king's number, right? Why has nobody called that out then? Because you're sitting there saying that he ain't good enough. Arsenal fans are saying he ain't good enough, but they were all jumping for joy when we signed him up and wasted 5 million a year and gave him Henry's number. So that decision in itself is now looking dumb. But we knew it was going to look dumb because we knew he weren't good enough. But again, the most easily pleased fan base in world sport were jumping for joy because he scored against Chelsea. Then he scored against another team. Then he scored here, and his goals took us from 4th to 5th, right? So that decision now looks dumb. That 100 grand a week for 4 years, that's 20 million. That 20 million could have gone towards something else at the club that is better, Terry. Somebody that we could have brought in that is better. That could have been a down payment on a player that is better. That could help us go forward, right?
Listen, the Eddie Nketiah thing I get. Like, that's a poor decision. And even the best run clubs going through the best moments will make decisions. Let me just say this, though. This is a fact. Out of the top 50 players in the league this year for minutes played,
yeah,
Arsenal only have 2 players, and one of them's your goalkeeper. The other one is Gabriel at the back. So you have 2 players. None of your midfielders and none of your attackers are in the top 50 players with the most minutes in the Premier League this year. So you haven't this idea that you've run every player into the ground 12 games in is a fallacy. And how we know it's a fallacy is
I never said every player. I mentioned Bukayo Saka.
Okay, but I'm talking in generality about people saying, oh, they're fatigued, they're too tired. Have we rotated enough? You've rotated perfectly. And the reason why you've had some of the performances where you've dipped is because you have, especially in the Europa League, is because you didn't start with your main 11. You did rotate people in. And yes, you do need, I think to win the league, you've got to go out in January and buy more. You know, go and get 2 or 3 players.
In your opinion, what do we need in January? And how much do we need to spend? Where should we be spending?
Oh, I mean, the price of it, I haven't really thought about. I think you need more in the attack. So, for instance, another striker or inside forward that can bring you some goals. Because I don't think Eddie Nketiah personally is good enough. Personally, I think you also need to look at your midfield as well. So, I would be walking down the road and knocking on the door again of Leicester and looking at the Yuri Tielemans situation. You've got players out there. I know he's an attacker here. I'll go back to them. The Pedro Netos of this world. I think Lissandro Trossard should be somebody that you visit and take a look at as an example as well. I think those areas there, I think Ruben Neves could be a very good buy for you in that midfield area. If you went out and bought Yuri Tielemans and Pedro Neto in January, that could give you enough creativity, enough cover, and give you enough goals. Because I think Pedro Neto, I get the feeling with Pedro Neto, a little bit like Jota. I think if he steps up to a better quality team,
he's brilliant footballer, mate.
Yeah, I know you think
that. So if
you bought those 2 players collectively would probably cost you about 80, 90 million to get. That could be enough for you to go on and win the league. And then maybe a third option somewhere else in the team as well. Maybe.
Okay. Now tell me, do you think Arsenal are going to do that?
Well, but that isn't my question. Isn't
no, I'm asking your opinion on it. Do you think Arsenal will go and do any business like that?
So on that, I am not convinced the Cronkies and the owners will do that for your manager. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that if Arteta is given that, I believe he and your team can win. So the pressure from let me just finish my point though. If you Arsenal fans shouldn't be putting pressure on Arteta here. You should be putting a pressure on the board to spend the money. And if they don't spend it...
Thank you. I've been saying this all season, but I'm negative, Terry.
That's not negative. Negative is down.
Well, apparently it is, because you should shut up. We're top of the league. We're top of the group, but you're still digging out this and you're still digging out that and you're still digging out this. If we win the league, you'd still moan that it weren't a good season.
Yeah, but Lee, you're tainted. But Lee, you know you're tainted, right? People, Lee,
Terry, I couldn't care less. After the people in this can't stand me, but they come and watch every week. I don't care. It's not stopping me coming back next Tuesday, is it?
Yeah. Was this a comment here? Says, stop being negative, Terry. Arsenal will win the league. Get in the bin with your negative views. Listen, Tony, listen, my guy. Listen, I think you can win the league, but I do think you need to buy in January to do it. By the way, if you're ahead of City by 4, 5, 6 points in January, you know they're going to buy, right? They will look at an area in their team and go, right, we need more because they want to win the league. So
let's assume that
it.
Arsenal don't go out and do what you said in terms of buying a winger and a midfielder, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, of a decent standard. We're apparently linked to another Brazilian, by the way, who's apparently flying to England to sort out the deal. Well, that's not how football transfer works, surely. What, he's just going to turn up like Peter Odd and Winky and hope Arsenal sign him? Like, come on. Yeah, so whoever put that story out, you're an idiot. Yeah, yes, we might go and buy that guy, but he ain't just jumped on a plane and landed at the Emirates and waiting for Arteta to sign him, is he? Yeah, so let's not be done with this, right? That guy, yeah, will now be lauded up as the greatest Brazilian footballer in living history by our fan base, right? Again, we've already got Marquinhos that was lauded up because he scored and cried after a Europa League goal. Well, we've not seen him since, mate, right? El Nenny's back, by the way. El Nenny's back in training. So there's a midfielder that we ain't going to go and buy now because we've got El Nenny back, like a new signing. Smith Rowe's coming back in January, or December. So that's another one. Oh, we can use him to push towards the second half of the season. So that's now 2 players we ain't going to go and buy because we've got 2 players coming back, right? So there's your 2 players, Terry. Zinchenko, the man that was only supposed to be missing 2 Ukraine games, one of which he was suspended for. That was 10, 11 games ago in the Premier League and Arsenal games in total. If he misses 2 more games, that is the equal longest he's ever been out in England for either Man City or Arsenal off of 1 injury. How? It's a little calf injury. How is it that nobody's talking about that? Yeah, nobody's talking about Arteta said he was out for the Ukraine 2 international games. Ukraine never bothered picking him, said have a rest. We were told he was coming back after that. Arteta sat in a press conference before Southampton and said that he's always available. Well, how comes he ain't been in squads then? He's missed 11 or 12 games, something like that. So when he comes back, he's
played 5 games, so he's missed 7 in the Prem.
Plus the Europa League.
Plus Europa League, yeah. You know, I get.
So there's another 5 games.
You've got Reece James Reece Nelson came on firing. That could be an option for you.
So there's 4 players, and you think we're going out in January because this fan base will spin it, because the journalists will spin it, because the club will spin it. Our club has already come out and said previously multiple times we are not just going to go and buy any player, yeah, which is so subjective anyway. Yeah, we're going to go and find players that fit our model. So not one person who sits and asks questions to this manager has then said, so what's the model then? What's the profile of player you were looking for? Nobody has asked him that. So when we've got Reece Nelson come off the bench, now our fans are jumping for joy, going and give him a contract. Yeah, he scored more goals than Jadon Sancho this season. Woohoo! Do you think Sancho's lost sleep over that? No. Yeah, but now Reece Nelson, who was injured, otherwise we would have got rid of him in the summer, is now the shining light, the next Raheem Sterling, and going to bag us loads of goals to lift us a title, Terry, or get us in the top 4. So there's the winger that we're not going to go and buy in the January window because Reece has now scored 2 goals against Nottingham Forest. El Nenny's back, which means that we ain't going to go and buy a party backup because we've got El Nenny back. Yeah. Now Smith Rowe's going to be coming back. So now we don't need to go and get Martinelli cover because Smith Rowe will be back. Now Zinchenko's going to be back whenever that may be. So there's 4 players that we've been without for most of the season that are going to be coming back in January or around December, January time. And you think this club is going to go out there and do any business? They're not. They'll go out there and buy 1 player that's a kid that's Brazilian, yeah, and is probably mates with Edu's son or something, right? And we'll go and get him in, right? Other than that, I doubt we're going to do anything, Terry. If anything, I could see us getting rid of players. Cedric Suarez being one of them.
Maybe. Right? And bruv, listen, I just want to say, like, I want to interject really quickly because I know there isn't a lot of time left. And I want to say this, that if that happens, Arsenal fans should be frustrated and they should condemn the club and fully back the manager and say, hang on a minute, this guy had us, this guy has got you right now into a title race. Give him what he needs to go to that next level. There's no doubt.